Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now, we're taking a look here today at IOTX, which is insane as far as the amount of growth it's had. I mean, I took a quick peek at it just before I jumped on here, and I think it's somewhere in the range of 400% last 2 days, depending on when you got in, right? So hopefully you got in yesterday and you are enjoying the profits here today. I'm going to recommend that we look at some best practice here for situations like this. There's a strong chance that we are not quite at support yet, and we'll look at that here in just a moment. Moving forward, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should do your own research at all times. And what I mean by that is just do your own research in the sense that take ownership of your trades. Never blame anyone else. Nobody should give you the answers. My goal here is to help educate you and become a better trader, right? Now, what I would do is obviously what I would do, and you do what you would do, right? So we all have our own ways of doing things. The best traders are those who take and learn a lot from different people. Okay, so hopefully you can disseminate some good characteristics there. Also note I do have a Signal group where I share all of my trades with my patrons. Link in the description below there as well. And furthermore, also everything I utilize here today in this analysis, I use in my own trading, right? And I think it's important to have really good structure and good risk tolerance. So be careful, be cautious, and just make sure that you make good informed decisions and never trade when you are feeling sad or blue or upset in general, because it never works out. It only heightens the experience. And upset traders are unsuccessful traders. So be happy, right? It's okay. We can do this. We're all in this together. All right, moving forward, let's just go ahead and take a look at this. Let's get to it. Let's check out the charts. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at IOTX. And just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to get a baseline of the market so we know exactly what's going on. Because, to be a good trader, you really need to understand how these other altcoins and the largest coin in the industry are performing. So that way we see if there's a correlation, connection, and obviously can, kind of predict, for lack of better terms, what's going to happen next, right? So we'll go ahead and see what that looks like. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and take a look here at Bitcoin. And just to preface, I utilize TradingView.com or just TradingView in general. I have the paid versions here where we have multiple indicators. I'd recommend you do the same, just based on the fact that you can follow along a little bit easier. And honestly, it's just, it makes things so much better. So always utilize something like this in your trading, just because it makes it tremendously easier. And I do have a link in the description below for a free month, just to kind of get the feel for it, see if you like it. Check that out in your own time, but we're looking here at Bitcoin 4-hour. What I like to do is enable my SMA lines, which is a simple moving averages. And right now, really, we're kind of out of the woods, but obviously the 50 is trying to catch up with the price action. So we got the 50-day simple moving average here is the orange line, and the purple line is the 200. Now, those are really null and void for the moment, because we have such bullish momentum that it's going to stay below for some time. And just to note, we have a major support at about 42,500. A secondary support, more relevant here recently, the price bounced off 3 times, as 45,000. We also had this bullish, bullish continuation flag, where the price came up, worked its way into a channel, and then of course broke out. That's pretty common, pretty normal. I was able to thankfully send some signal here recently to my Telegram, through my Telegram community, of course, to identify this. So check that out if you haven't already, of course. But generally speaking, we're in pretty good shape here right now with Bitcoin, kind of in an ascending upward direction. So looking good. And just note as well, we do not have any major resistance levels up until about 52,000 range. Okay, so it's kind of open season right now. So I would say, swing trade Bitcoin to 50,000 is probably pretty likely right now. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This is a pretty good indication that we're in really good shape with Bitcoin for right now. And again, if the price retraces back down to 45, it's worked as a pretty strong support level. So just bear that in mind. It should continue to work as a strong support moving forward. Moving on to Ethereum here, just a quick peek. We are also out of the woods here as well with Ethereum. Pretty much the exact same situation. Not much else to say here. I haven't really technically marked any support and resistance levels. I could see one here right now at about 3,600. So just loosely, we're looking at about 3,600 as the next major resistance. So again, we're halfway to that point at about 32.5 right now. So I would venture to guess that we've got some room, some wiggle room here, essentially, for a little bit more continuation. But as you can see, there's almost a straight line here with Ethereum. I mean, it's just taking straight off, going diagonal, and it's doing the exact same thing it did before after April 17th, right? When we had that first major Bitcoin sell-off, it took off up until the Elon candle, and then the China candle kind of corrected everything. So I do foresee Bitcoin and Ethereum continuing for a few days here. I think it's pretty safe to say we're in the clear. As far as major support and resistance zones are concerned, we've got a larger zone for both, and I think we're going to see some more movement here. So feel free to long. Just make sure you set some comfortable stop losses at major support levels, like 45,000, for example, for Bitcoin, and or 2,900 for Ethereum. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at IOTX. Take a look at this. Holy cow. I can see why my patrons wanted me to cover this. Thank you for the recommendation, by the way. I always enjoy looking at coins like this. All right, so obviously, if we look back here, right, it's a new all-time high today, okay? So all-time high of, what, 12 cents, 12.3 cents? So it, kind of seems redundant to go ahead and mark this, but I like to anyways, just for future in case the price were to come back up. But the thing to note in most cases when you have price action like this, where it goes this high and this fast, it's obviously some kind of fundamental catalyst, all right? So do your own research, find out what that is. There's a reason for it. So to know and understand where it's going to continue on is almost impossible because we don't know the fundamentals here with what we're looking at, right? Which is all well and good. We can go with kind of Fibonacci retracement or just kind of major support and resistance zones. I personally like to kind of mark, well, previous all-time high. So why don't we go ahead and do this here? Again, this was tested twice. So we'll go ahead and mark that. That's likely going to be a support level moving forward at roughly about 0.79. We can just say 0.8 is basically 8 cents. Yeah, 0.08 rather. So 8 cents is a major support. Also note too that, traditionally retracement occurs in cryptocurrency somewhere in the range of 40 to 60%, right? So we can expect the price to continue back down to the support level and maybe even a little bit further. So this may become a new support or resistance zone. So just pay attention to how 8 cents responds to the price action. If all goes well, the price comes down, bounces off 8 cents and continues up, right? That'd be the best thing, right? It kind of comes down and does one of these. But it's pretty large zone, kind of unknown territory right now, so we don't technically know what's going to happen. But I can tell you that traditionally, cryptocurrency has a tendency of kind of retracing about 50% of the way on average. So if you just take the difference of where this started here today and where it ended, 50% is just a little under this support level here. So my guess would be the price to come down and bounce off support or cut below, work as a resistance, and kind of work into a consolidation channel until it breaks out again. It may not last very long, or it may continue on. That's, again, the thing we don't know here with the fundamentals. But as we can see, RSI is obviously overextended, 95. I mean, you can't hit 100, but if you could, this would be 100, basically. We had a convergence over here back on the 26th. That makes sense because that was shortly after we had a, Bitcoin rose up past 30,000. Okay. So kind of just normal stuff here on the one-day chart. Let's take a look at the 4 hours, see what kind of price action we've got. Obviously, I got a lot. Wow, that just keeps on going. Okay, so it finally did retrace though here, which is good. And bear in mind, when I say that's good, I'm sorry if you got in at 12 cents or something like that, or 10 cents, but retracement is a very healthy thing. We need to have this in order for this continuation to occur, right? So if we look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the last 20 hours, IOTX has gone crazy. Now, in order for it to continue going crazy, it has to consolidate and or retrace for some time. Okay, any good bull run, you'll notice, will have an increase, consolidation, increase, consolidation. Looks like a staircase, right? So if all goes well, it would look like this, right? This is what a good bull run would look like. Since we don't have that, the price went like this, and now it kind of has to do one of these. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It's completely normal, completely natural. Again, I foresee, just based on how things work with cryptocurrency, that this will probably continue sideways for a little bit. Might try to do one of these, and it'll kind of work with itself within this channel. Again, it could break below, but it's now that it broke this previous all-time high, this is a likelihood of a strong resistance, right? So just keep that in mind. Looking at the 4 hour, let's see, our RSI, excuse me. Obviously, we're overextended again, but the common rule of thumb is if you have a long position, instead of taking profits when the RSI passes 70, which is back here somewhere at like 2 to 3 cents, you wait for the price to come back down and then you consider selling or trimming. So it's on its way back down now. So if you're going to consider taking profits, now would be the right time because there's a strong chance it'll continue down to roughly 8 cents and possibly bounce. Again, depending on the position you're holding, right? If you're going to just want to hold this, just say you bought this yesterday and you're selling today, then I would recommend getting out sooner than later because yes, it might continue to increase, but you want to secure those profits, right? If nothing else, at least set a stop loss just below 8 cents, maybe at 7.5 or something, just so you have that little cushion and heaven forbid it comes below you still in the green, right? So again, always take profits, always be smart, and try not to get greedy. But again, if you are a long-term holder, you're going to hold for years, then sure, keep your position open. But this is a significant increase. I mean, we're talking almost 200%, right? Like if we look back here, just say you'd got in yesterday, at its highest point, it was 400%. My God, 400%, and now it's at 270 yeah, about 270%. So come on, take your profits already if you have that opportunity. Okay. Don't get too greedy because yes, it is creating new all-time highs and it could go up to 20 cents. We never truly know, right? But if it doesn't, you're going to kick yourself for leaving money on the table. Anyways, that's just the things I like to look at. So we had a convergence on August 9th at 5 a.m. Let's go ahead and mark that guy there. That's obviously this here. All right. And because what I want to show you here next is the Ichimoku Cloud on the 1 hour chart. So if you're kind of new to the channel, there's a good chance that the cloud probably signaled to us as well as the MACD that we should have got into this trade. So let's take a look. Okay, it's probably going to be hard to identify. Well, kind of. It's still there. All right, so can you see this green cloud here? It's referred to as a cloud. It's the Ichimoku Cloud. So the common rule of thumb is that when the price is above the cloud, it's considered a long position. You want to take entry. When it's below, it's considered short. So according to this math, had you shorted right here, you would have taken a small profit, let's say just in the range of 5%. Not bad. I like that. I can tolerate 5% per day. That's a good growth. I mean, I took a 0.5% gain yesterday with my my signal group, and I was happy with that. That's perfectly fine because it's profit, right? It all depends on how much you're leveraging, but nonetheless, profit is profit. What I'm getting at here is when you're looking at the price, right? See how the price jumped up over like this, almost only one hour before the MACD signaled on the 4 hour chart that we had a buy signal. We got a buy signal from the Ichimoku Cloud, right? Because again, above the cloud, considered a buy signal. So even though it's hard to see right now with all the growth, there was an indication of a buy signal here. And that's something we need to note, okay? Now let's go ahead and also note on the 1 hour chart, the TD sequential. We probably had a reversal here. Yep, there we go. And if you're new to the TD sequential, it's really straightforward. Actually, it's very complex, but I like to make it straightforward because there's not much else you really need to know. Because what happens is it counts up, from 1 to 9, right? It stops at 9 and should reset. That's kind of the natural way of things. So the law in, cryptocurrency is that you're normally going to have about 9 candlesticks worth of continuation in one direction, and then it will likely retrace the other way. Again, this isn't set in stone, but generally speaking, when you see a 9, like here, for example, we got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's supposed to retrace and come back down at this point. It got one more leg up. It was able to get one smashing extra hour of, probably like almost an extra 50, 60%. But when it came up there, see how it's coming back down now? So at this point, and under this logic here, we have at least 7 more hours of continuation in a bearish sentiment, which means that we're probably going to see at least 7, possibly even more candlesticks in a downward direction, or at least consolidating going sideways, right? So just bear that in mind. We're still early into this reset, so to speak. So I'm venturing to guess that we're still going to see the price continue down to about 8 cents, and where it goes from there, it's hard to say, but it's more likely than not going to work as a support and bounce off, or might test, reject for a second, and then shoot right through again to go ahead and squeeze out the short positions. There's that as well. All right, so I just wanted to kind of show you that. Looking at the 15-minute chart, we're probably going to be on the downswing here, but let's just quickly identify. Yeah, I mean, look at this back here. My goodness. So this is really cool. First of all, this is what my notification does. I share this with my Signal group, so if you're a member of my Patreon community, I basically provide this to you. And what is it? Basically tells us when we have good entry points. In other words, this would have been a good entry point right here because we have two solid green bars, basically 30 minutes of confirmation. Again, these are 50-minute candlesticks above EMA and VWAP. And if you're new to the channel or just in general how that works, VWAP is a day trading tool. It basically tells us the volume, weighted average price. So it takes the volume last 24 hours, express it as a price. When we look at this here, we see the volume. Basically, the price was, well, it's really hard to see because it's so exaggerated. I don't know if I can maybe see if I can see. I mean, you can maybe see it there, right? So the blue line is the VWAP. So when the price comes above, it's considered a support. When the price is below, it's considered resistance. So that being said, right now, when the price broke above, it was considered support. So it's now being supported by the volume. Above that, we also have EMA, which is the red line there. Basically, when the price is above EMA, it tells us the bulls are in control. So we got bulls in control, above support, and 30 minutes of confirmation. That's an entry point that you want to look for. So had you take an entry there at 3 cents, you'd be, well, you could be a millionaire right now, depending on how much you invested. Let's see. Okay, you'd have 178% return had you jumped in on that signal, right? So again, I know it's easier said than done. I missed it too. It's not like it's something that's just obviously sticking out and glaring out. But if you're paying attention to this, you're like, okay, maybe I'm going to do a swing trade. Take a look at the 4-hour chart. See if there's a MACD, an upswing on the convergence, right? And then look at the Ichimoku Cloud on the 1-hour chart. Okay, great. We've got confirmation there too. And then you confirm it further with the 15-minute chart. It's all said and done. It's just easy profit. But those are the things I like to look at here. And, I guess moving forward, I just recommend that you be cautious, be careful. So my prediction here, if I were to give you one, is that IOTX will retrace down to 80 cents. Correction, 8 cents. Wow, 80 would be nice. Sorry, 8 cents. And then it would likely bounce, but it may not bounce hard. Again, depends on the fundamentals. So do some research and find out what those fundamentals are. If they're super strong, then we're going to continue on this hype train. But I can tell you that, I mean, all the volume that we see right here in the last 24 hours, that's equivalent to like 2 or 3 weeks worth of trading. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It's going to start dying off a little bit. It might continue on, but this is an extreme situation here where we went up 200% in one day. That's quite a lot. In fact, I think it was even more than 200%, but it's roughly at that now. So yeah, just be careful. Again, set a stop loss, maybe about 0.75 or 7.5 cents rather, and then watch to see how the price responds to 8 cents. And I think that would be a good consideration here. Adding to your position would be, I don't know, it really depends on where you're at. I would recommend just being very careful, taking profits where you have them. Yes, it might increase, but man, leaving money on the table, especially if you got a 200% return, is just ridiculous. So do something about it, take some profit, set a stop loss, and just watch and we'll hope for the best. I might review this again soon, but thanks again to my community members for recommending I cover this. We'll go ahead and see you in the next video. Thanks again. Take care.